This is the worst sporting event in human history. Not the worst race, the worst event ever held. 32 men started. Only 14 made it back. One was fed rat poison. On purpose. Twice. One did most of the race sitting in a car. One got chased a mile off course by wild dogs. And the guy in charge? He planned some of this. 1904, St. Louis. Let's get into it. The 1904 Olympics weren't really an Olympics at all. They were bolted onto a World's Fair as a sideshow. The fair ran 7 months. The games just happened alongside it. Most events were half empty. Nobody knew what was happening. Europe mostly skipped it. St. Louis was too far away. So the fields were tiny. Some medals were almost uncontested. But the marathon actually drew a crowd. It was the headline event, the one people came for. The man running it was named James Sullivan. Sullivan had opinions, strong ones, about the human body. He believed athletes drank far too much water while racing, not a little too much. He thought water was the problem. So he built the entire course around that idea. 24.8 miles, 7 hills, 1 water stop, 1, at mile 12, a well beside the road. That was the whole hydration plan for the entire race. Start time, 3 in the afternoon, late August, 90 degrees, no shade, dust absolutely everywhere. And the roads weren't closed to traffic at all. Cars drove the course alongside the runners the whole way. And those cars, they're about to nearly kill somebody. The roads were dry dirt, loose, powder fine. Every car kicked up a wall of dust behind it. Officials, coaches, reporters, all driving the exact same route. Runners spent hours breathing that cloud, not near it, inside it. Imagine sprinting behind a leaf blower full of sand. For 3.5 hours, in 90-degree heat. Now add the hills, 7 of them, some so steep that runners had to walk sections. This wasn't a marathon course. It was an obstacle. And remember, 1 water stop. Mile 12, a well, beside a dusty road. That's it. Runners begged spectators for water and got turned down, because the officials had said so. Sullivan wanted to see what dehydration actually did to people. He got his answer. It was not good. 32 men lined up at 3 o'clock exactly. Some of them were world-class distance runners. Some had never run a marathon in their lives. One of them had never run a race at all. A few didn't even own a pair of running shoes. The starting gun fired. The crowd went up, and within 20 minutes it started falling apart. But before the collapse, you need to meet these guys. First, Felix Carvajal, a mailman from Cuba. He decided he was going to the Olympics, somehow. He had no money, no sponsor, no team. So he ran laps around a public square in Havana. Then he'd stop, climb on a box, and ask for donations. It worked. Total strangers paid for his trip. He got as far as New Orleans. Then he gambled. Dice. He lost every single cent in one night. So he hitchhiked and walked the rest of the way. He arrived in St. Louis with no running kit at all. He turned up at the start line in street clothes, long trousers, heavy shoes, a beret, at the Olympics. Another athlete grabbed scissors and cut his trousers at the knee. That was his uniform. He said he was ready. Next, Len Tounyan and Jan Mashiani, 2 Tswana men, both from South Africa. They weren't brought over as athletes, not originally. They were at the fair as part of an exhibit. They entered the race anyway, and they could run. They were the first black African men to compete at the Olympics. Then, Thomas Hicks, a brass worker from Massachusetts, a real runner, real training, a real chance to win, and Fred Lors, a bricklayer from New York, also a genuine runner, also seriously fast. Remember his name. He's the reason this video exists, because one of these men is about to commit fraud. Live. In front of the president's own daughter. 3 in the afternoon. 90 degrees. They're off. The pace starts fast. Way too fast. Within a few miles, the dust cloud moves in. William Garcia from California is running really well. Then he starts coughing. Then he stops coughing. He's found collapsed at the side of the road. The dust had coated the lining of his stomach. He was bleeding internally, just from breathing. Doctors said another hour and he'd have died there. He was the first serious casualty, not the last. John Lorden starts vomiting and can't stop. He's out. Runner after runner just stops, sits down, quits. Meanwhile, Len Tonyain is running barefoot and doing fine. Better than fine. He's up near the front. Then a pack of wild dogs comes out of a field. They chase him. He runs. The wrong direction. About a mile off the course. Then all the way back. He finished 9th. With a detour. Chased by dogs. And Carvajal? The mailman in the cut-off trousers? He's chatting with spectators. Mid-race. In broken English. He hadn't eaten properly in something like 40 hours. So he spotted an orchard and helped himself. The apples were rotten. He ate them anyway. Cramps hit hard. So he lay down and took a nap. Mid-race, in a field, fast asleep. He still beat most of the field. But first, the car. Back at mile 9, Fred Lors is in real trouble. Cramping badly, overheating, completely done. His manager pulls up beside him in a car. Lors climbs in. Race over, simple as that. The car drives on, straight toward the stadium, and here is where it gets genuinely stupid. Lors waves at other runners as the car passes them, sitting down, comfortable, waving. 11 miles later, the car breaks down. Lors gets out. His legs feel great now, rested. The stadium is close, so he starts running again, and he runs into that stadium in first place. The crowd goes absolutely insane. He crosses the line looking fresh, barely sweating, because he had run about 9 miles. Total. And nobody in that stadium knew it. They crowned him. Cheers, photographs, a wreath. Then Alice Roosevelt, the president's daughter, steps forward. She's holding the medal, ready to hand it over. And then the shouting starts from the crowd, people who saw the car. Standing right there, Lors admits it immediately. Says it was a joke. A joke. During the Olympic marathon. He was banned for life. On the spot. But the real winner was in worse shape than the cheater, because behind Lors, Thomas Hicks was still out there. Around mile 10, he asked his handlers for water. They said no. Sullivan's rules. Water was the enemy, remember? So they sponged his mouth with warm distilled water. He wasn't allowed to actually swallow any of it. By mile 14, he was begging to stop. His handlers had a completely different idea. They gave him a dose of strychnine sulfate. Strychnine, the main ingredient in rat poison. In tiny doses, it's a stimulant. It tightens the muscles. In slightly larger doses, it simply kills you. They mixed it into egg white and fed it to him. Then washed it down with a swig of brandy. He picks up. Keeps moving. Gray in the face. A few miles later, he fades again. Badly. So they do it a second time. More poison, more brandy. By the final miles, he's hallucinating. He thought the finish line was 20 miles away. He asked for food. They gave him more brandy. His legs stopped working properly. He's shuffling. So 2 men hold him up and move his legs. His feet touch the ground. That was the rule. And that is how Thomas Hicks won the Olympic marathon. He won. Then the doctors got to him. Hicks was carried straight off the track. He'd lost around 8 pounds during the race. He couldn't eat, couldn't walk, nearly died that night. He recovered, and he never won at that level again. 14 men finished. 18 did not. Carvajal, the apples, the nap, the cut-off trousers? He came fourth out of 32. Fourth. On rotten fruit and a nap. Fred Lors got his lifetime ban lifted the next year. Then he went and won the Boston Marathon. Legitimately. And the poison, nobody was punished. No rule against it. The official report called the drugs useful for distance racing. That's how close we came to losing the marathon completely. Think that's bad? The 1900 games were somehow worse.